Good morning and welcome to this week's IGTV. Today I'm talking about why your encouragement is actually lowering your teens' efforts. Like no matter how much you try and, help them with what needs to get done, they just do less of what needs to get done. And you're like, why though? Why? And it doesn't make sense that they would just seemingly willingly do less and less of what is actually required and walk toward consequences like failing classes, bombing exams, not studying, not getting the sleep required, not prioritizing these things at this time of year when it's like, hello, you've been doing this for a couple of years now. Maybe they're in high school and this isn't new that they have exams at this time of year. Maybe they're about to graduate, and the more that you are trying to kindly encourage them, offer support, that seems like something that a caring, amazing parent would do. The less that they're doing, the more they're not only pushing you away, but they're going further and further away from the actual things that need to get done. Okay. This is so common, and I just had a post about this in one of the programs that I run, and I thought, you know what? It's about exam time right now. There's school coming to an end. This is super heated in a lot of houses, and so I wanted to address this and offer some research. So I've got my laptop open here, so I'm going to be looking at my laptop because I want to share with you the science around encouragement and what it means based on what you and I were taught to really help you shift this situation so that your teenager does more of what is required without you needing to be that constant driving force for them, whether it's now just at the end of the school year or next year or when they're at college or whatever that looks like. Because we need to start turning this around for your teenager's sake. And I'll tell you why about that in a moment. So stick with me. If this is for you, I would love a follow on Instagram, a subscribe on YouTube. And if not, great. If you're watching this after it's been posted, then please share this with any other caring and courageous parent of teens or tweens, even young adults at college who this is a huge challenge for. My name is Allie Payne. I am a certified life coach, certified relationship systems coach. I have been working primarily with parents of teens to help them end the painful disconnection, emotional blow-ups, and stressful silences to build lasting relationships based on trust and respect, where you become your teenager's strongest support. They lean on you for their challenges instead of push away from you or hiding them and lying about them. And your teenager finds their own internal motivation to stand up and find success on their terms. I was your teen. I went from straight A's to F's and failing out in my grade 11 year. I the wheels fell off. All the wheels fell off. And I'm going to use a few of those examples in today's IGTV about the kind of encouragement that I got as well. And I can tell you exactly what I was thinking and what I wish I had then that would have helped me to perhaps not experience the kind of consequences that I did. Not that it was any adult's fault, not saying that, but I can tell you based on my own experience what I actually needed and did not get. So let's dive into this. Okay, so the post that I saw, the post that I had in one of the programs that I'm running right now is amazing mama, caring mom, and her son, who normally gets 90s, 95s, he's very intelligent and he has managed to be quite successful. I think he's 16, so grade 10-ish. And we're nearing the end of the school year and his grades are dropping. Not just dropping to 80s, I mean 70s and lower. So again, I'm not saying that anything below 80 is bad. I'm not judging the number. I'm just trying to give you this data to show the significant change. So any significant change in your teenager's academics is just notice to hey, I wonder, something's going on there, right? It's not about a judgment about the number or the grade itself. I really don't care. So this mama, of course, very concerned. The teachers are also noticing and sending notes home, wondering about this dramatic kind of drop in grades. They're noticing he's hanging out with a group of kids who maybe not the best influence, maybe making some less than fabulous choices on how they spend their time. He is just like kind of not only not prioritizing, but he just seems like more flustered, maybe disorganized. Because he's very intelligent young man and has been in advanced classes. She has been asking him, are you studying for your AP exams? Like, do you know when the AP exams are? Have you put in the time about this? And then of course, when she's seeing like now assignments are starting to be missing, he's getting behind, which again, all very kind of uncharacteristic of his previous education career. So she's logging on more, she's doing more kind of like monitoring of the portal, and he's missing assignments and things. So now when he wants to go out with friends, she's saying like, no, like you're missing assignments. Like, come on, dude, like this isn't rocket science. Come on, you can do this, right? So her encouragement is, hey, like what support do you need? How can I help you? These are the things that I see in the portal are coming up. Like, do you need some help? Again, what's your plan to study for the AP exams? I've got teachers messaging me and they're, you're starting to skip class. Like, you got to show up to class. You got to, all the things, right? All the things. Same things that I got when I went from straight A's in like 1 year, grade 10, straight A's in grade 10, to D's and F's in grade 11. Skipping school, lying, just basically stopped doing all the work, stopped handing in the work. Kind of like this young man, except I was a year older. Okay. So bless this mama, like, she's doing what you and I learned was encouragement. Here is the problem. What you and I learned was encouragement is not actually encouragement. She's not stupid, okay? And she's not exactly doesn't care. She does care deeply. It's that encouragement is to your teenager encouragement is not reminders. Okay, so I'm just going to clarify this. I'm just going to look up this. I'm just going to look at my laptop here for 1 second. The definition of encourage. Okay, the definition of encourage is to give support, confidence, or hope. It's to give support. It can be to give advice so they will do or continue to do something. Now, that is the version of encouragement that you and I were raised with, is giving advice so someone will continue doing something. That's the version of encouragement that you and I, that is one of the definitions. The number one definition is give support, confidence, or hope to someone. Okay? But the number two definition, to give advice so someone will do or continue to do something, is exactly how you and I were raised. So, I'm just going to look up. So the root word, the root of courage is core, right? Is heart. Okay. And the seat of the feelings, like the center of feelings, right, is core. So encouragement is to like fill the heart, like to bolster the heart, like where courage, where confidence comes from. Okay. But what you and I were raised to believe is encouragement is task-based reminders. And this is where the crappy part of your love and care, like sincere care for your child's success, so that they reach their potential and they see how, like, you know, the opportunities that they can have because you've worked hard for them to have that. This is where this goes off the rails, is that encouragement becomes task-based. And what it is a litany of reminders. A litany of reminders. And there's only one word for that. And that's called micromanagement. Your teenager does not feel encouraged. Which really sucks because I know that's what you want. Yeah, I'm gonna get there. Okay? I'm gonna tell you what encouragement actually is. And what they need, again, based on my own experience too, which is what I told this mama. So what you and I learned was that encouragement is a litany of reminders, but I want to be real clear about why. Because what you and I learned is that compliance to external expectations, as in get good grades, be a good student, I'm going to venture a guess here, but make me look good as a parent. And I'm saying that because I have done that as well. Okay? I'm not throwing shade or judgment. I've done that too. Don't be that kid. Only bad parents raise bad kids. So don't you dare shame and embarrass me by being the bad kid who's now skipping school, dropping assignments, teachers are sending me messages home. How dare you make me out to be the bad parent when I know you're capable of more? And what's really going on below the surface of this encouragement that is a litany of reminders and micromanagement is fear. It's the fear, your fear of what if you are failing as a parent? What if you are a bad parent? What if you've missed something? What if your teenager really is a failure and not what you thought? What if you can't get them back on track? So the getting them back on track to avoid is coming from the very twisted version of encouragement. It is part of the definition, but taken to a wild side, which turns into a litany of micromanagement, is coming from compliance. I need you to comply with these standards and get back to being the person that I know, love, and feel comfortable with, because that version of you makes me feel good about who I am as a parent. And the moment that is at risk, my value of myself as a parent, you want to bet I'm going to come down on you with a list of micromanagement, son. And it's also studied. It's psychologically proven. So parenting is one of the most emotionally charged topics, one of the most difficult things that challenges your ego, your value as a human being, your worth. And I'm sure if you've ever been on social media, you're quite aware that parenting is literally an Olympics now. Because God forbid that you post anything about your child or you will be ripped a new one, shamed to shreds. Oh, thank you, AI. Okay, we're not doing the balloons on that. Shamed to shreds because obviously you're failing and it's all your fault. It's this constant barrage of how parenting is now equated to morality somehow. So if your child falls from grace in any way, God forbid, you are less moral. You're just obviously a stupid parent. You obviously just don't get it. Have you thought of therapy? Oh my gosh. Can we please get over ourselves? This comes from previous generations of parenting, where you and I learned that you had more value to your parents. You were more lovable, you were worthy of affection, you were worthy of attention, and you were worthy of praise when you performed in a way that made them look good. and now you and I are parents. And now your child was doing great and you got to be that parent, like the parent of the good child, and now your kid is slipping from grace and it is challenging your identity as a parent. Their behavior is challenging your identity. So your fight or flight system in your brain is triggered and you start pedaling real hard because your ego is challenged with the results that are coming in and the story that you think, it's not true, the story that you think that makes up about who you are, and you're doing everything you can to avoid that. So you turn into an encouraging micromanagement machine on your child. Micromanagement machine. Like, I mean, stick their head in a vice and squeeze that sucker so hard like it's going to pop like a pimple, because that kid is not going to do that to you. How dare they? And what's worse is your teenager seems to do this intentionally. Like, they seem unfazed by basic reminders, like, how hard is this? And if you could do this last year, or you could do this like last week, why all of a sudden are you like literally just blowing it all off like it's nothing? Like, why do you seem to intentionally want to fail? Okay, so that's what's actually going on below the surface. And again, I am outing myself in that too. I have been that parent. I loved having smart kids. It was great. And then my oldest has autism and ADHD, and things got super hard. And you want to bet for reals, it started to challenge my little like high horse of righteousness as a parent because I had smart kids. Yeah, I did. So again, zero judgment. So here's a couple things I want to tell you. And this is again based on science. It's also based on my own experience. Now, I was that kid who went from straight A's to F's. The last thing I needed was micromanagement and a list of reminders, as if I had somehow magically become unclear of what needed to get done and the priorities of those tasks. If you believe that, you are purely looking at behavior. Encouragement, courage starts with the heart, and bolstering the courage, the confidence in the heart. That has nothing to do with behavior-based list of reminders and tasks that you are obsessing over from fear. For me, when I went to failing out, now I also have undiagnosed ADHD. At the time, I'm now diagnosed with ADHD. It is also quite likely that this student is dealing with some learning or executive function challenges that he is refusing for support around. But here's why. The litany of reminders I already had in my brain. I already knew all the things that needed to get done. Thank you very much. And also, I was in advanced classes as well. Okay. Now, that doesn't just mean this happens to smart kids. This happens to teenagers all the time. They just all of a sudden, it's like kind of drop off the map. Stop trying, stop caring. That's what you think is happening because you're only looking at the behavior, the outcome. Let's go back to the word encouragement and core. It starts inside. It's an internal. We know this scientifically. All behavior is driven by emotion. 100% of the behavior you see has already gone through a massive filter of feelings, thoughts, values, before it became a behavior, before it became a outcome, a result, a fail, an A, a B, a C, a D, whatever the grade was, okay? So if you're only looking at the performance, the outcome, like you're on the caboose of the train. Like, I don't know how much effect you're going to have on the train and the steering and the speed of the train if you are beating down the door of the caboose. Know what I'm saying? I didn't forget what needed to be done. I knew what needed to be done. What happened for me is I became so overwhelmed with what needed to be done, which the teenage brain is very easily overwhelmed, although they are at a time in their lives when they can learn new skills much quicker than adults. They also are very easily overwhelmed because of the massive brain development going on for them. And this is often when ADHD shows up. Now, I'm not saying that this child does, and I'm not saying your teenager does. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying they haven't forgotten what needs to get done, and they didn't stop caring, and they're not being willingly defiant. They are so freaking overwhelmed with their lips barely above the water of the surface. All they can do is gasp for air. That's the only task that they can manage anymore, is to just get enough air to breathe. So the whole litany of tasks that you're reminding them of, that somehow you believe that they forgot or are choosing to forget, is so big and overwhelming, they can't deal with any of it. So they do none of it. None of it. That is also what I did. I never stopped caring. The shame storm I was in was as bigger than Niagara Falls. The negative self-talk I had is like the worst, most hurtful things that you have ever heard. And I said them to myself all day, every day. I didn't need help remembering what tasks needed to be done, because that was not the source of the problem. Now, I have 2 pieces of data I want to share with you, okay? So, there was a study done in 1960 by Douglas McGregor, and it was the theory X and theory Y, suggesting 2 aspects of human behavior at work. This also applies to your teenager, okay? So theory X managers or leaders, and if you're a parent, you're a leader, take a pessimistic view of their people. Like, you assume that they're naturally, like, they're unmotivated, they dislike their work, they're going to need to be coerced, controlled, reminded of standards, the performance expectations, what's due, just a lot of reminders and micromanagement that you believe like they don't have ambitious, their total ambition, they're unwilling to take responsibility. They need like this constant carrot and stick motivation. Like, you start paying your kids for grades, or like making these weird begging manipulative offers to them for privileges if they'll just do the bare minimum. That you operate from a lack of trust because you don't trust them. And you need an authoritarian level of management, which includes the micromanagement. So when your teenager stops doing the level of compliance to external standards, or the way they used to be, or what made you comfortable, or what you believe they are capable of, you go quickly to consequences. So you're grounding them because they're failing, they're missing assignments. It's consequences, punishment, grounding, taking their phone, taking their tech, blah, 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 all the things, okay? Again, I get it. That's how you and I were raised. That's what my parents did to me too, because that's what they believed would snap me back into caring. The problem is that those methods, that kind of consequential discipline, punishment, call it whatever you want, is based on eliciting fear or pain that I want to avoid. So I will do what it is you want me to do, care about what you want me to care about, and earn back your praise, your love, your attention, affirmation, like whatever, and avoid the pain and fear of whatever the consequences, like losing my phone, my tech, my friends, social commitments, like whatever that is, right? Right. So that's the problem. That's actually the problem right there. The source of this issue is not behavior. All behavior is driven by emotion. So let's go back to encouragement. Core, the heart. The source of confidence and courage. When I was so overwhelmed, which was a function, again, of undiagnosed ADHD, but this is also very common for teenagers. I've been doing this for 18 years. Like, I see this all the time. When I was so overwhelmed, what I needed was, I'm going to go back to that fun little definition here. What I needed was support to help build my confidence, and I needed someone to give me hope and to empathize, to let me know in some way that I was not a giant disappointment. Because you see, shame erodes confidence. Encouragement, not micromanaging, builds confidence. And without confidence, you cannot have motivation. Without confidence, you cannot have resilience. Two things like required to keep trying when things get hard. Okay? So what happens is the micromanagement of these Theory X managers, all of these things that you and I were taught, and these consequences, disciplinary action, like whatever, call it what you want, what that's saying to your teenager is, I'm disappointed in you. You're not being the way I need you to be. You're failing my expectations. You are disappointing. Because you've stopped trying, you've stopped performing at the level I know you're capable of, and you're failing me. And I am so frustrated with you because I can't believe that you would choose this path when you have what it takes. I can't believe you would like intentionally just be so defiant. How could you possibly stop caring? How could you let the opportunity that I have worked so hard for you to have slip through your fingers when I am giving you everything that I can? That's not what's going on. That's about you and fear and your identity. Encouragement, I needed more confidence. I needed someone to come alongside me, as this young man does, and say, hey, are you okay? You know, I've noticed a change. You okay? Now, they might say no, because if their confidence is really low, they're not actually going to self-advocate. They're not going to say. I never had one single teacher. I went from A's to F's. Straight A student, award-winning athlete. Stop showing up to sports, stop showing up to school, F's. Not one teacher came to me and said, hey, I've noticed, something's different. Are you okay? If you wanna let me know, if you want to talk, I'm here after class. Not one person said that to me. Instead, I got detention. I got grounded. I got a lot of yelling at. I'm just going to be real clear. Those are things that continue to erode confidence when my confidence was already dropping faster than the Titanic sank, 10 times faster. Okay? So let me talk to you about Theory Y managers this study in 1960 that was proven. Theory X managers, optimistic opinion of their people. They use a participative, style. So there's, hey, how you doing? I'm just checking in. How you doing? Anything you need? They give people greater responsibility. They encourage them while suggesting improvements, but not micromanaging, because they know things come from confidence and the drive, motivation, a self-driven resilience comes from inside, not outside force. That they assume that people seek and accept responsibility and need for a little direction unless there's a real problem. They don't assume people are being defiant when there's a problem. They assume something's really going on here. They approach things with compassion instead of control. Compassion instead of control. Okay. They have a collaborative approach, and they believe people can problem solve creatively on their own, but are always available to encourage or be part of that should they need. Do you get the difference in Theory X and Theory Y? So this is the greatest, I think, interpretation of old school parenting model that are your grandparents, your parents that you and I were raised with, that is wildly pervasive in our school system, and the decades of psychological research and adolescent brain development, which is demonstrated in theory why. And again, based on my own experience and what this young man is going through. So encouragement is about building confidence and hope in someone. That requires empathy. It requires someone be seen compassionately with emotional safety, to be as lovable. I want you to hear this. As lovable, as worthy as a human being, deserving of respect, care when they are getting F's as they are if they're getting A's. That they deserve the same. In fact, they need more care and compassion, not compliance and not consequences, because that lowers confidence. So you're going in the opposite direction. Your encouragement, based on what you and I learned was encouragement, is actually driving confidence lower and lower and lower, and only ensuring you will get less and less effort. And the only and biggest price is your relationship with your teenager and their belief in themselves. And I know that because I walked that path. And very unfortunately, I also attempted suicide because I really truly felt I had no value left, because I was consistently told via reinforcement of consequences and punishment that I had no value, I was unlovable, I was embarrassing, I was a disappointment, and I was a failure. Now you might be saying, I don't say that to my kid. I would never say that. You don't have to say it. I have news for you. Your teenager already extrapolates that because their brain is hypersensitive to judgment and criticism. Now, I'm not saying to raise a snowflake. If that's what you're hearing, well, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying we have science to prove that just perhaps the way that you and I were raised and is steeped in our education system is not freaking working. Now, one more thing, a couple more things I want to tell you. The study that was done that you probably heard going viral on TikTok and Instagram, on social media, whatever, is a study that was done back in 2007, 2008 by Carol Dweck. And the study was praising effort over praising intelligence, okay? And I just wanted to tell you some quick highlights of the study here for 1 second, because here's what she realized. And again, this is proven in science, okay? Is that most educators, let alone parents, because I'm not down on teachers, okay? I think the education system is broken. I don't think it's set up for both teachers or for students to succeed, quite frankly. But this is the old paradigm that you and I were raised in, is that there's two beliefs. One is that praising a student's intelligence will build their confidence and motivation to learn. That's belief number one, is that praising a child's intelligence increases confidence and motivation to learn. And number two, that the student's intelligence is, in fact, the major key to achievement and success in life. That's the two beliefs, old school beliefs, okay? So based on the study that she did, and this has been proven in so many other ways, not just her study, okay, is that when children, now this was a study that she gave two groups of students, and they had to take two tests, okay? So after on the first test, one group was praised for their effort. Hey, I see you're working with Johnny on this. Great. If that collaboration works for you, awesome. Or hey, I see you're taking some time to think about the test, and the problems. Cool. I love how you or tell me about how you're problem solving. That looks really fascinating. Another child might be really quiet and they're doing a lot of writing. You're like, wow, looks like you're really thinking about this. Okay. Another child might be dancing around with the paper and they're using body movement to get to like think through stuff. Awesome. I love how you do that. That's super cool. All about effort. Okay. The second group was praised for intelligence. So whether they, like the tools they use, calculators, like how many pens, how many pencils, like whether they wrote out the problem solving exercise, etc. Okay. After the test, again, same with before and after the test, one group was praised for effort. Okay. The other group was praised for grades, performance, like intelligence. Like, I'm so proud of you for getting an A. I'm so proud of you for getting your highest mark ever, an 80%. And really praise the outcome of the test, the intelligence, the performance of the test, okay? Here's what happened on the second test. They gave them, these two groups of kids, a second test. And here is what happened. The group that was praised sorry, I just want to make sure I'm getting this right. 2/3 of the kids that were praised for intelligence didn't want to take the next test. They didn't even want to take the next test because they didn't want to risk not being seen as intelligent again. What if they didn't do well on this second test? They would lose their praise, their identity as you defined it, as intelligent. Now that's part of their identity. That's very risky. So they didn't even want to risk it to take the second test. But 90% of the group who were praised for their effort alone selected a harder second test because they wanted to maintain effort and do even more of whatever effort looked like for them. They selected a harder test, you guys. The group that was praised for intelligence and did take the second test had a 20% decrease in performance on the second test compared to the first test. But their second test was not any more complex. Okay? The effort praised group took a harder second test, chose a harder second test, and increased their score by 30%. Because the outcome was not defining them as a person. There was no shame story or identity in the performance. It was their problem solving and the way they approached it and how that they were willing to like take a risk and cool and discover what worked for them. And that built confidence. Effort-based praise can also be called encouragement. Performance-based praise would be compliance. And it decreases confidence and motivation faster than what you and I can even do in a blink of an eye. Now, okay. There's plenty of studies that have been done on this. John C. Maxwell, who's been studying human performance for, I don't know, since I think even before I was born. He's written so many books on talent is never enough and done multiple studies on kids and athletes who are super talented and never made the grade because they didn't understand effort, because they were only praised or believed in their value as talent. They were never encouraged to develop their confidence, problem solving, creative thinking, and how to try different ways and train different things and try because they were afraid to fail. So this is the other thing, is that intelligence-based praise that is your encouragement and relies on a litany of reminders and micromanagement for compliance to performance will always lower confidence, motivation, and effort, even when you see it as intentional, blowing off, lazy, and unmotivated. That is only the outcome. That is not the source of the problem. effort-based praise, empathy. Hey, how are you doing? You know, I know you've got a lot on your plate. AP exams are super hard. This must be really stressful for you. It's okay if things feel hard. It's okay to feel overwhelmed. If there's anything I can do to support you, let me know. You know, it's you looking at your role and your identity and the outcome and understanding the psychology and science of what your teenager actually needs. Encouragement is seeing them and loving them wherever they're at, knowing that when they've stopped trying, it's because they have such low confidence, they cannot risk losing any more of it. They cannot risk losing or failing again. They don't have the resilience. Confidence comes from knowing their value with you is never at risk. It doesn't mean you're just going to sit back and watch them fail, because I know that's what lots of parents are saying. What, so I just watch them fail? No, you don't. You understand how specifically to do this using my 3-step framework, which is what I've done with parents for almost 2 decades now, based on my experience, all of the science, and having helped parents take their kids and help them re-engage in their academics, find success on their own terms, even if it includes getting themselves up for school on time without you reminding them 1,000 times, actually doing homework and handing it in, and not needing a shoot ton of reminders, telling you when they fail an exam and sharing that pain with you, knowing you are not going to crap all over them or judge them, but you're going to be their safe person to be like, ah, dang, that sucks, doesn't it? Not because you're rescuing them and not because you're doing homework for them, but because you've been willing to separate your value and identity as a parent and a human from their external performance. And you've been willing to see them as a valuable human who's struggling mentally and emotionally. And they are worth more than just a grade or a percentage to you. If this is something that your teenager is struggling with and you want my proven system to helping turn your teenager around, please, once I get this posted, I want you to type school in the comments and I will send you the free link to my free training on exactly what I wish I'd gotten, what I learned in coach training, all the science in a 3-step framework so you can begin doing this with your teen and become the encouragement they actually need to turn this around. I love you so much. Thank you for being here. I will see you next week. Bye.